Okay, so we just talked about our garden tower and growing vegetables that don't have pesticides in them. And so there are lots of different ways in which we can decrease the inflammation and irritation within our body. And if you can afford the organic side of it, I think it is actually helpful. Or Gabriella gets me to really scrub out my kale in the smoothie first thing in the morning. So yeah, so I was just
because kale is notorious for having pesticides in it. So if you didn't know that, now you do.
And I feel really blessed that we really got onto the principle, was we were teaching according to principles. One of the principles is eat food, mostly plants.
Not too much.
And then the kind of science kept on emerging to say, this is why these things are helpful after you've had a cancer diagnosis. So I just feel like, wow, did we ever kind of walk into that one appropriately? So
yeah. And then of course we find out that it's not just what you eat, but what matters is when you eat.
how you
And today we're here to talk about other sources of inflammation that perhaps are a little bit in the background. They're hidden, you know, they're behind the background of our daily living. And so let's shed some light on them so that we could be mindful and make better choices.
You know, we could call this an anti-inflammatory program. Like that could be like PEP, the anti-inflammatory program, because it really, everything that we're doing is kind of set up to have your body in that state where its immune function, it has the innate capacity to heal itself because you're not in the irritable state. So I'm going to talk about inflammation, that it is actually helpful in the short term. We actually need it. But then there's the issues around if you're chronically having that smoldering fire in your body, that grumbling, energy sapping processes, this is not good for you. And then we're just going to repeat essentially what the program talks about and why this settles you down. And next time around, we'll probably talk about environmental exposures.
And just before you move on to the next slide, when you just a snapshot of this makes you realize that we're talking about population inflammation. Those are sources of inflammation that affect all of us. It really doesn't matter which part of the planet we live on. They really affect us, and they have something to do with what we intake, things that go into our body, other things that we are exposed to through our senses, like what we smell, what we see, what we hear, and we're talking about psychological influences, right? But also environmental factors, because we smell things. We have behind us a detector for radon, for example. We know that those sources can negatively affect us. We know that lung disease can precipitate as a result of radon exposure. Now, you tell me what house in Canada doesn't have radon exposure. The question is how much? And how much you're exposed to, or mold, or you know, things that
irritate us, irritate the insides, irritate the immune system,
and so on.
I show you this because it was one of the guys in the prostate cancer program that actually said, you guys should talk about inflammation, and he sent us the podcast. And so essentially the BBC, so it's the Guardian who interviews these top-notch scientists, you know, experts from around the world. And so this is a fantastic talk overall, but it also coincides with what we've been trying to promote within the program itself. So the takeaway is, if you want to talk about a subject, let us know and we will do the research around it. So that's an opportunity for you. Okay, so acute inflammation, this young guy scraped his arm, and I'm thinking about two things. I'm thinking about the kind of the dirt, the foreign substances, the kind of the gravel that's kind of get embedded in the skin. I'm thinking about the bacteria that's in the soil. And I'm also thinking the bacteria that's in his skin itself. And that's going to kind of start permeating into the tissue. And so the body has to have a reaction in order to fight off these foreign substances. So inflammation is actually a good thing in the short term. You need it to kind of get through, like chemotherapy, for instance. You get a shot of chemotherapy, you're going to have an inflammatory response. If you're taking care of yourself, your body will be stronger to be able to create an inflammatory response to take care of any issues and so on. So infection, injury, foreign substance, it's all happening the same thing. You're getting the immune system, which releases cytokines. Cytokines is just a word that says chemicals in that region that open up the blood vessels that allow the more blood flow and also the immune cells to get into that area. And so that's why inflammation causes that red, swollen, sore, red, tender area. The point is, once the skin heals in, then it settles down. Yes, there might be a little bit of scarring left over, part of the inflammatory process, but all natural, all expected. That is not
Mhm.
a problem. We need our inflammatory system.
Absolutely. It's like the house is on fire and all systems are, let's put the fire down. Let's go take all our attention and our
Yeah.
energy onto this particular issue. And the same happens with psychological
Yeah,
stress, right?
yeah.
If something is happening in your life, like, you're about to get new treatment, or right, all your attention and your energy spent on that particular event. And of course, now you've got to think about that and mind your mind and say, well, how much energy and attention do I want to spend on that? Because I want my body to also be able to allow the immune system to do its job. So maybe if I relax a bit, something important is at stake, but I don't need to be stressed about it because it's happening whether I want it or not. Right now it's happening.
Less stressed,
right? But if I relax myself, and we have this, relaxation program embedded in Cancer PEP, for example, because it really can empower you and take yourself out of the way so that the body may do what the body does best. Right?
Nice. I'm also
bringing
thinking
in
though,
that alert and putting down the fire.
It's not like, in my mind, it's not gonna be like we're gonna be like Zen,
no.
calm all the time. I think you have to be a dog to be able to do that. What I mean, if something happens, we're going to have that psychological inflammatory response. And the question is, how quickly can we come back to normal? And we also going to mourn things, mourn losses. And again, that takes a certain timeline. But generally speaking, what's your stressometer? How stress reactive are we, right? And how quickly can we say this is not worth it? This is small,
beautiful,
right? Yeah. So,
and I like how you're speaking to yourself. That's another thing that we talk in the program about, right? Use the grandmother voice on yourself. That's one thing I do when I'm in stressful situations. I'm saying to myself, you're doing great. You're doing wonderful. I love you. Come on, this is great. You can do this. Because then I'm more likely to, okay, I'm going to meditate and I'm actually going to breathe and acknowledge the fact that I haven't been breathing much. I've been holding my breath, because that's what we do when we're stressed, right?
Why is my neck sore?
Exactly. But I'm much more likely to relax and allow the immune system to do its job and be mindful of the whole system and what it needs. To help me. If I use the grandmother voice that says, you're doing the best you can. You've been through difficult situations before. You can get through this. I love you. You're a good person.
Nice.
Come on. We're going to get through this together.
One step at a time.
Step at a time.
And to keep it in balance, not being like too stressed all the time. Okay, so the issue is, if you have the smoldering fires happening on an ongoing basis, it kind of damages the tissue. I think that's probably the easiest way, and it sucks the energy out of you. There's a whole bunch of different things that a chronic inflammation causes, right? So inflammation, it's not your high cholesterol, it's actually inflammation that causes heart disease. Cancer is increased in the inflammatory process. Our brain cells don't work, they get kind of shut down. If we're chronically depressed, our brain actually shuts down. That's why there's a depression part of this. But you can look at the glucose system, you can look at your joints, you can look at your muscles, you can look at like lots of different things do not do well if you're chronically under an internal fire.
I like a metaphor. I like metaphors all the time, but imagine that our body is a community. If I have a lot of fires going on at the same time everywhere, that brings me in a state of unrest. It's very difficult to heal and transform when all this is going. I mean, in a state of panic, and a chronic state of panic, and a lot of fires that have to be put on, and sirens everywhere. Fire.
And that's exactly why it sucks the energy out of you. So for whatever reason, the immune cells send those signals to your brain to say, preserve your energy so that the immune system can actually do its job, right? And so it's the reason why you get the flu or the cold and you feel tired, right? You're post chemo in that week or so, it's like you have all this inflammation within the system. It's saying to your brain, just rest, don't consume any other energy. So that's the big pressure. And obviously it's tiring in lots of different ways, including mentally. So so chronic inflammation increases the aging rate. 80% of Americans greater than 40 years old are in a chronic state of inflammation.
Wow, take that.
That's us. We are them.
All of us.
We're us, right? And so how is it that even in the midst of a cancer diagnosis, you can settle it as much as possible. That's the question. So yes, it makes sense. Diet's number one. 80% of your immune cells actually live just under that first layer of your gut lining. And the gut lining is only one cell thick. Isn't that incredible? And you start to damage that through your bad diet, and that's
like
going
the
to
ultra processed foods that
exactly
take away that epithelium and
stop that leaky gut syndrome. So you don't want, well, there's a whole bunch of reasons you don't want those chemicals into your system, but the chemicals that have been ultra processed also kind of clump onto the proteins, and that causes inflammation at distant sites from that area. Right. So we're not going to talk about ultra processed food like substances. We
talked about last month.
And talking about community, I really like your idea around community, which is we are in community within the bacteria of the gut. It's like a symbiotic relationship. We can't live without them. We have to take care of them. In fact, that's our role, is actually take care of our bacteria.
Therefore, let us feed our 100 trillion friends.
Yes.
Those are our friends.
With real fiber.
Give them some cabbage. Give them some pickled cabbage. Give them some kombucha.
It's soluble fiber. You can't get that by the kind of additive fibers in ultra-processed foods. It actually has to be the real thing, because there's like, we're just getting to understand it's multiple levels of fiber, and it's happening through a process that's complex. They run together. Okay, and what's my last little thing? And so
time restrictive eating.
As soon as you kind of let your body get into the hunger phase, then the kind of immune system starts to pick up those little bits of garbage that are kind of floating about, which are actually causing the inflammation. So, and Gabriella is really doing a fantastic job these days. Me, not so much, because I'm like,
I feel so good.
Yeah.
It's like everything else in our program. Try it.
Yeah.
And it's the experience, how it makes you feel, that is going to make you want to adhere to it or not.
Yeah.
And that has happened to me throughout my life, including my own spiritual practice, is how do I feel at the end of it? Am I able to forgive things more easily? How long does it take me to go from an inflamed state, psychological or otherwise, into a calm, centered, balanced, happy state? Because that's really going to do it. And time restrictive eating really works. I mean, I have so much energy. Rob, honest to goodness, it's 8 o'clock at night. I've been going, and because we've had such a busy day since 8 o'clock. I mean, I'm happy. I'm ready to go.
Yeah,
my energy level is fine. I'm with my peeps here giving a talk tonight, and seeing you smile, and I feel your love.
Yes,
I feel your love and appreciation. It's wonderful. So we work together. We're talking about what matters.
Yes, thank you for showing up, guys. Right, we're in community.
So, but there you go. Time restricted eating. Taking care of my gut bacteria, minding my mind and not letting it go wild.
Nice.
And doing things that have purpose. I live a life of purpose, and what we're doing is together. Purpose.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and we keep on practicing. We keep on working towards this
every day. We're in school. This is our curriculum, and you are our teachers, and everybody around us is a teacher.
It's one community,
us, right?
Yeah. So the other thing I was reading was the plastics, like storing food in plastics, where what do they call it? Plasticizing, like you're leaching of some of the chemicals within the plastic into the food.
It has to be. Think about it, right?
Yeah. So Colleen, I'm thinking about you and Luke. Glass water. Glass water bottle. I had it. Sometimes I'm using the plastic water bottle. I think actually the glass is the way to go at it. So I'm playing tennis. Glass water bottle.
Yeah.
So,
I have a glass bottle now that I take to when I work out, and I just ordered a glass bottle for our daughter. Because she lives on the 11th floor of this building, and the water
is pretty
good.
Warm.
And 00 something is the name of the company that filters lead, filters heavy metals and other things. And it's a good company.
Someone said it. Don't quote me, because I may not know this, but something was saying something about the Brita filter not working actually to change the composition, but I'm not quoting that one. That was what I heard. Okay, anti-inflammatory lifestyle. Yes, exercise. I will preach that till the day I die. So strength training beyond aerobic exercise. So strength training actually releases those chemicals, is anti-inflammatory. And then the other one is the anti-sedentarism lifestyle. 5 guys, can we all stand up right now?
Let's stand up.
Yeah, if you're watching this video after the fact, please have a little stretch. We're not going to do the full 5 minutes. I like it
Oh my goodness.
partly
this is
because you can say, like, what does my body need right now? Like in terms of
Mhm.
a stretch, my hip has been a little bit wonky recently, so I can kind of
Mhm.
like stretch some of those muscles or, reach to the sky. And then kind of a sense of gratitude as well. Like, wow, maybe like a little rub on the heart. Oh,
Gosh, you're tall, Rob.
well, I have the big shoes on today.
I
So
do. Oh,
yeah.
no wonder I feel so small, so short.
Yeah. So you can start thinking about these kind of rituals as well, right? Is that
Yes.
when you stand up, maybe it's a time to be like grateful for
Yes. In
everything's
the
happening there.
power pose.
Power pose, baby.
Hmm.
The reminder is that all of our cells are actually on a circadian rhythm,
Mm.
right? So it's not just your gut cells, not just your brain
Totally.
cells, it's everything. And so want to be able to respect that and not stress your system like too late at night and just get yourself out of whack from a circadian rhythm. So that's obvious that we're talking about sleeping and so on. Am I to take a drink?
Yes.
Am I starting to sound hoarse? Practicing a relaxation technique is just like so obvious that what I say is resetting your stressometer, right? So then you're more resilient and you're more likely once you do flip, because we're going to flip multiple times a day, like, ooh, I'm stressed, bringing yourself back home again. Practicing a relaxation technique, you get stronger. It's quicker, stronger, faster to come back online.
Yes, and the biofeedback device is really good. First, you get information by looking at a sensor that tells you how you're doing. But after doing this practice over and over again, more than 6 months, I mean, we've been doing it for now 3.5 years or so. I want to tell you, I know exactly when I sit down how I'm going to tell the machine to operate. So in other words, I know how to get in a certain state that gives me the expected result. So that's it. And hence the idea of biofeedback device, right? Bottom up and top down.
Yes.
It goes both ways.
Oh,
and that's what we're trying to do.
So good. So we're actually going to practice there's actually in the later slide, there's something. Anyways,
Okay.
So stress, we've been talking about stress and a resilience to that. To me, it's like being able to watch yourself all day long. And what are you watching? You're watching the sensations within your body. How does your body feel? You can do it right now. What do you feel in your body? What do you feel in your gut? What do you feel in your heart? What's the tension in your muscles? What do you feel in your neck? What do you feel in the cranium? So it's a physical side of things. What's your emotional state right now?
Mine.
How no, is that no?
Is that a question?
Yeah, so
I'm actually quite at peace.
Yeah.
I'm actually quite happy. It's the end of the night. That's it. After this,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get out of those clothes, take a shower, go in bed and relax, and give you a hug,
Yeah, yes.
and hug you before we go to bed and heal all night, and wake up tomorrow morning and woohoo! It's another day.
Okay, so that's lovely. That's give me good vibes too here. So what's the emotional? What are you feeling emotionally? And what are your thoughts? How are you thinking? Right. So those are all mindfulness of the sudden, I'm feeling stressed right now, and the capacity to kind of then do this exercise that we're going to do right now. So it's breathing in for a count of 4. Big breath in, hold for 7, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Long, slow, smooth out breath through 8, 3, 4, blowing out 5, 6, 7, 8. Then big breath in through 4 counts. Hold. Blow out slowly, slowly. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Breathe in for 4, big breath. Hold for 7. Breathe out slowly. Breathe in for 4. Hold. Breathe out for 8. and relax, breathe however you want right now. Okay, so Andrew Weil was quite a dynamic and very wise integrative medicine physician. It said that if you do that, what we just did right now, so it's 4 cycles of this breath, and you do that in the morning and you do that in the evening, you actually again reset your neurocircuitry to a more calm place. And so again, it's practicing a relaxation technique changes your kind of stressometers, I guess the best way to say it. And then you're less stress reactive, more stress resilient.
You know, a very close friend of mine, and I think she's a friend of many of the people that are online tonight, said to me recently, less than a month ago, she said something along the line, pain is there only if I call it. And that has been with me, excuse me, is a very profound statement, because that means any negative emotion that causes me inflammation is there if I call upon it, like a guest.
Right. We can always reframe. We go, I say, what do I have right in this very moment? Like, what is happening in this moment? Because this is where life is happening. Why can't I open my heart just in this very moment and not be kind of stuck in what happened and just like, what's here, what's now? And yes, you can use your intelligence to figure out what you want to do. You can draw on that information, but really it's about, let's not invite in pain unnecessarily. Right. There's enough that's going to be there anyway. So why don't we just decide and choose?
But that's the thing, you know, about those psychological stressors. You know, we're addicted to them. We're addicted to the emotion, to the, it's comfortable to stay in a state that we're familiar with.
Yeah, it's a familiarity. Yep. Agreed.
Sometimes misery becomes familiar.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of the lessons that I had to learn, I'm sure a lot of us have to learn at some point or another, you know, what would it be? You know, I will determine moment to moment how I feel. I have a say. I may not control the outer circumstances, but how I think about things, that I can control.
Yes.
And that will bring with it a state of being that is really at my beck and call.
Love it.
So thank you, Sherry, for that.
Yeah. the wise
ones. Stay with me as long as I live, I tell you.
Yeah.
Such a powerful statement.
I have on the screen here. We are going to feel super stressed sometimes. And by recognizing it and practicing a relaxation technique in the moment, you'll work your way up the curve here. And so you'll be more functional. You're not going to get back to the tip-top performance. So set the expectation low, but you will be more functional, right? And ultimately, you can recognize that stress can be used to enhance your performance, enhance your life. And that's when you jump up to the top curve. So I'm not going to spend any time on that because I want you guys to think about that. And just the last one is...
Oh, I love this.
Yeah. So this is about...
relationships.
Yeah. Do I want to be right or do I want to...
be happy?
Happy, you know, and connect and to see the other person's interest as your own. It's like, I want that person to be happy. And so how do I work with that? Meanwhile, setting boundaries and expectations and, you know, standing up for yourself when it's appropriate, but it's like, it's really this feeling like, I love you and I want you to be happy. And that's going to come across and that will create more harmony within the relationship. And that is actually healing as well. There's less kind of ongoing stress within your neurocircuitry when you're in that state. Okay.
And of course, at the basis, I mean, if you take a look at this picture, for example, while you were talking, I was thinking how trust is at the basis of all relationships. You can't have, you know, a harmonious relationship if you don't trust the other person. So, you know, sometimes we have to go through our relationships and make choices that we are not others' emotional garbage. It may mean that you have to say and close the door to some old relationships. You know, maybe their lack of value is merely being emphasized. You're not somebody to be taken pity on. You are a strong person. And you know, we all have hurdles. You know, all of us. None of us are exempt from that. So nobody likes to be looked at with pity or, you know, no, we want to be looked at in a dignified way, in a respectful, loving, full, complete way, and recognize ourselves in others. So again, back to this idea, if we don't have too many harmonious relationships around us, that raises inflammation. If we say things because that's the status quo, but rather than how we feel, we need to have our people in our lives. We need to be able to speak from the heart and to be accepted just the way we are.
Yes, nice. And even just one person that
one. That's all it takes.
Say, this is how I'm feeling today. I'm feeling pretty crappy.
Yes.
Don't give me any advice.